Well, good day, my friends. It's your old pal, Jordan the Lion. How are you all doing today? I hope you said great. Today, we are going to be doing kind of a fun video. I posted a couple of weeks ago a video of getting a Chinese-made copy of an Ace Frehley guitar that originally Gibson had made. People really seemed to like that video. And I had mentioned in there that there was this company that was making really affordable guitars. The guitars were ranging from between $179 to about $279 on average, and that the build was really good. They were called Firefly guitars. I really couldn't believe what I was seeing because years ago I had went through AliExpress and was ordering or trying to order these famous guitars. Like I love Prince, so I was trying to get a cloud guitar. I loved Eddie Van Halen. I was trying to get one of Eddie Van Halen's looking, the famous Frankenstrat or Frankenstein, things like that, And so for years you could buy them online, but the problem was you never knew if the builder was gonna send you a good copy because the names on the sellers would change so frequently, you just never knew what you were gonna get. And a lot of times, you would place an order, it would say it was gonna take 3 months, and then 2.5 months into the order, you would just get a straight up cancellation. And that's what happened to me. I had tried to, at one point, get a replica aged guitar that looked like Eddie Van Halen's Frankenstein Frankenstrat that he loved. He actually called it his baby. But I had tried to order one for me and my friend, and both of our orders got canceled, so we never got it. Now, Eddie Van Halen did have a brand company that makes his gear and his guitars, and it continues on to this day. It's called EVH. They make a version of Eddie's guitar. I've played it. It's expensive comparatively. I think it's like $2,000 when I looked into it, and I just didn't like the way it played. I don't know what it was about it. There was just something that I didn't really like. And I feel like for $2,000, I really gotta love what I'm playing. But at the same rate, I look at guitars almost as like a piece of art. And I love to have them hanging on the wall to look at, especially for the players that I love. I have a couple of Jerry Garcia's replica guitars, I have Brian May's, people like that. And so always getting that Eddie Van Halen has been something I've wanted. Now, I mentioned I wanted a Firefly guitar. I was interested in finding out about them, but their thing is that they sell their guitars on a website called Guitars Garden. And you go on there and you have to just basically look all day long, every day, because they will post guitars that are available and they'll only make them available for a couple hours, and they'll pull them down so that people can't buy them all up, because there's a major resale market for these guitars. People will buy them for the $200 roughly and then immediately relist it on eBay for $350 because they come in such small quantities and they're peppered out throughout the year. So just because maybe you'll see a Dimebag Darrell version or style guitar on there, it may be gone the next day. It may have sold out. They may only put out a few. So you really have to jump on it when you can. And so I just happened to pop on there and they had the Eddie Van, now they've made several style Eddie Van Halen guitars, and the first one, they didn't do any of the routering for the two parts of the pickups that Eddie didn't use. They just put the humbucker in there. And so what Firefly does, they make a tribute to that guitar player. The guitar will sound and look very similar, but they change a few things so that it's not exact and that there's no infringement. And one of the things with Eddie's was that he had routed out those holes in the guitar. And or they were there from, when he purchased the body of the guitar, and we will get into the story of that. But now they put out a version, and it was only, I think it was $209. It's the FFVH STYAY 675. For Firefly people, you'll want to know that, because if you want to get this version, we're going to go over the unboxing of it and everything. You're going to want this one. This is a newer version, and what they did with this one was the top two parts of where the pickups were that Eddie never used, and I'll kind of go into why. They not only put those in here, but they actually put the pickup in so that it works. When Eddie was a, flourishing guitar player. He tried many guitars, but he always felt like no guitar really spoke to him. No, the look, the sound, none of them really were there. He liked Fenders, but he said when you turned them up, he didn't like the pickups because he said he thought they were noisy. Now, he liked Gibson, so he had Les Pauls and things like that, but he also said didn't like playing Gibsons or the Les Paul particularly because he said at that time, everybody that was a guitar player had a Les Paul like they were Jimmy Page. And Eddie said as high up as he wanted to go on the neck, he almost had to wear the guitar up here like Al Di Meola in order to get to those high points. So he just said it didn't look good. So he set out to, not knowing what he was doing, he basically would buy guitars that he liked the sound of and he would start tinkering and adding, removing things and just learning trial by error. Now, one of his main guitars that he loved was he had a Gibson 335 that he played. But it had F-holes, and so gave him a little bit of a feedback issue, and he said he just started messing with the guitar until he kind of ruined the guitar. So what he ended up doing was making the almighty, to guitar players, many people view this as just like the moment of a guitar, as the Eddie Van Halen Frankenstrat. So what he did was he went to Charvel, and he found out that Charvel would make the exact components, like the exact parts for a Fender, any kind of Fender, but that they made it out of better quality wood. So he went to their factory and was gonna go buy a body and a neck and start putting a guitar together himself. And he said when he got there, he saw a bin that had one guitar in it, like just the body. And he said, what is this? And they said, it's the seconds. And he thought that meant it's the next batch to go through and get worked on. And he said, so it's going next? They go, no. That means it's not good enough. It's got like a knot in the wood or something, like it's not good enough to use. And Eddie goes, I want that one. So he paid $50 for that, went over their pile of necks, bought a neck for $80, and then started constructing this famous guitar. So what Firefly has attempted to do is to recreate the feel of that guitar. Maybe not the exact looks, but because it's not gonna have the quarter that he had on there to keep the tremolo from going too low or whatever, but it's very similar. It's supposed to sound similar, and I wanna check it out and just kind of look over everything and we'll talk about it. So let's do this unboxing. All right, so here it is. It showed up in this box. This particular one, you have to open it from the end down here and pull the styrofoam out. You can't open it. I've had some in the past where you can open it here and just pull it open. Not gonna work on this one, so I'm gonna go ahead and slide it out, put the styrofoam here, and then we'll open it up and talk about the guitar and what they're doing with it here. Got the utility knife. I'm gonna go ahead and cut all the way around, get all the tape and everything. So with Eddie, when it came to making his guitar, he like I said, he liked the sound of the Gibsons, but he didn't feel like any of them spoke to him, so he was always kind of on this path to make his own guitar. He said, I wanted something that just was mine, nobody else's but mine. So I'm so excited, I can't wait. Actually, I'm just gonna tear it open right here. So what he did, this is awesome. They reliced it and everything. That is so cool. So when he put it together, like I said, it started with just an unpainted body and an unpainted, untouched neck. And so he decided to do everything himself, including the electronics. But he didn't know anything about electronics, unfortunately. And so he just had to do everything trial and error. Now, what he said was that let me get this styrofoam out of the way. This is beautiful. I'm so happy with it. I knew that this would be something that people on this channel would enjoy. So when he started putting it together, he didn't like the sound of these this pickup, that Strat style pickup. So he liked the Les Paul. So what he said that happened was, since he had destroyed the 335, he actually took the pickup out of, or the humbucker out of that guitar. And that's what he was starting with. Now, he actually went in here and there wasn't a place big enough for that. So he had to chisel all of that around it out just to fit that in there. Now, once he got it in, he said he didn't really know what he was doing. So on a whim, he soldered the cable that went from here to the volume knob, and it worked. And he said, and all of a sudden, he had the guitar sound that he wanted. So he said, once I had that, I just realized, well, like, I don't really know what I'm doing there, and I already have the sound I want here. So he just never did anything with that. So when Firefly put out this guitar originally, let's flip it around just so it looks kind of easier to explain on camera. So when he started working on it, he said he painted it white and would use it for shows, and decided, you know, like one day just he was going to start tinkering with it. So he originally had a Fender bridge on it, and he said that it was just going out of tune constantly. But he loved the whammy bar. This does come with a whammy bar that you put in right here. He loved that sound, so that's what he wanted out of the Fender. But he liked the actual electronic sound of the Gibson, so he put a Fender tremolo on it, and because of the way it was set up and everything, he could not get the action to line up with the tremolo to work where it wouldn't go out of tune every time he wailed on it. So that's where the quarter that would normally be over here, where that came into play, is that he ended up having to drill a quarter in there so that the tremolo plate wouldn't touch. And then eventually, when like the Floyd Rose, which is what this is, when this came out, he switched over to using that and then just moved the quarter over. So in Eddie's guitar, these never worked. This is the middle pot has the way to choose between this, or both. And you have to use a little screwdriver or something to do it, because all the little switches are gone because he never used any of that stuff. So I think they did a really great good job with the tribute to the paint job. It's not exact, but, and like I said, they reliced it because they wanted it to have the feel like his, where it was just beat to hell. So if you see on Van Halen 1, he's playing a white guitar with black stripes like this. That is this guitar. That is actually this guitar. Before he did this to it, he would keep it, you know, white. It was black at one point. He put the stripes on there. But then he said one day he just kind of looked at it and said, I want to make it even more mine. So he taped it up again and hit it with the red. And this became kind of the standard. He cut the pick guard himself. So that's why you only have half of a pick guard. The one thing this doesn't have that Eddie was all about was that he had the eye hooks for his guitar strap. They went ahead and put normal guitar hooks on there, or, you know, the button on there. But normally what he had was the eye hooks. But boy, does that look great. The only problem I'm gonna have is that, and the neck looks amazing. They even aged the neck. The neck feels really good. I mean, actually, that might be one of the nicest. That is great. Oh my gosh, there's the headstock. So you can see the Firefly on there. Give them a little bit of brand recognition. I mean, they're offering something that's, even if you can't play the guitar, it's beautiful just to look at as a piece of art. And this was literally $209 plus $20 shipping. So the problem I'm gonna have is that I don't know, I've never owned a Floyd Rose. I've never used a Floyd Rose. Tuning the guitar is all about doing it with the Floyd Rose up here and this locking nut up here. Now, I've heard nothing but good things that people that got these in the mail, that they're all, you know, they all are pretty much set up pretty well. So this guitar may not be in tune. A lot of times they don't send them in tune because They know that guitar players are super picky about their sound, and the first thing they're probably gonna do after they plug it in just to make sure it works is they're gonna replace the strings to the gauge that they want. And when you do that, you have to reset up a Floyd Rose altogether. So I'm gonna have to learn that with this guitar, but that's fine. From everything I could see online, it sounds great. So that's the difference between this guitar and the EVH that I was looking at before. The EVH before doesn't have either of these pots routed out. They just have that, and the original version that Firefly put out of this that I've seen also was the same way, where it had nothing here, didn't have the routed out pickup coil part, or the pots. But this one, the beauty of what they did was not only made it look the way that Eddie's would have looked with everything in it, but this stuff actually works. They hooked it all up so that it works. So that's pretty exciting. I like that. Man, I gotta be, I mean, I'm just, man, I own a lot of guitars. Not by most people's standards, but I own, you know, probably 15 guitars. That is one of the nicest necks that I've ever felt on a guitar. No joke. As long as the electronics work, I think this is just gonna be an absolute home run. But I love that the attention that they did to this. You're an Eddie Van Halen freak, and you can add the, you know, the quarter to it yourself and everything. But to me, the vibe is there, the feel is there. This feels like a special guitar, and I can't believe that they make them so affordable. When I purchased this, I just went on there and they had this one and the other one available. The other one was $199. It was a Martin Luther King Day holiday sale. And this one was $209. And I said, you know what? Do I really need another guitar? No, I really don't, but I've wanted this thing for so long. I tried to order one. It didn't happen. And I know with Firefly, I've been wanting to try out the Firefly, and I just want to see what the quality is. So I went ahead and bought it. The next day I went on that same page and both guitars were gone. Sold out, gone. So, wowza, pretty cool. Yeah, so upon kind of plucking at it, not too bad out of tune, but it's pretty out of tune. So I'm gonna have to learn how to do the setup, because you have to do all that back here on the back of the Floyd Rose. But I did want to show that each order does come with an additional bag of goodies in there, and it has a cable that most people say you should never use, not a good cable, but it does have our whammy bar right there. Everybody loves a whammy bar. Eddie Van Halen loved a whammy bar. And then it's got your tools. It's got the things to adjust your truss rod, as well as your Floyd Rose, but I'm not gonna mess with that since I don't really know what I'm doing. So for you detail freaks, kind of bring it up here and you can kind of take a look around. I love that they did, even like right up here, they did kind of a sloppy job routing that out the same way Eddie did, because he just basically just chiseled it out, chiseled the wood out. Well done, Firefly. I know some people have a beef with them because, you know, I myself, you know, growing up, I had to save my first real good guitar. I saved up for a Les Paul Custom when I was 15, bussing tables at a restaurant to earn that $1,500 to buy that guitar. So I know what it means to spend big money on a guitar. But the beauty of Firefly is they're showing that it doesn't have to be exact for you to enjoy it. You can get the same feel, the same experience out of it. And you don't have to break the bank just to have something fun. You're an Eddie Van Halen fan. You just want to, every once in a while, play an Eddie Van Halen riff or something. This is a beautiful thing to take off your wall and be able to do it on. It's out of tune, but I wanted to at least try and give somewhat of a sound, you know, just so you could kind of hear. For people that are Eddie Van Halen fans that may consider wanting to get something like this.